Hi, it's been a long time. Who's here with me? Has anybody joined yet? Hello, we're notifying you viewers that you're live. Hi, hi HAHR12. Is that what it says? Hi Rosie. Hello. Hello everyone. Hey Numasoul. So glad to see you all here. It has been a long time since we've done a live. We've been very busy. But it's so good to be back in this space with you. I'm so honored to be here. Hey, Foot Zeus, I see you. I know you. And who was that? I saw a name I hadn't seen before. How is everyone? Happy Thursday. Lots going on in the world, lots to talk about. I'm here with your to answer any of your questions or just to hang out, talk to you a little bit. I got my summer sun tan going. I'm enjoying my gardens. How about you all? Hey Rev Karla, I'm so glad you're all here. Hey Chaplain Kelly, it's so good to see you. I'm so glad you are here. I love your when one of your videos comes up, I always look forward to the little dance and the wink. It makes my day. I feel like it's just for me. I feel like it's just for me. It is, isn't it? Right? I hope so. Thank you all so much. Oh, Fluffy Duck, I love that. That's great. Hi, King Stud. It's so good to see everyone. So, you know, we're going to be here for just a few minutes. So if you have any questions or anything that you want to talk about, go ahead and start putting them into the chat. If I can't get to you, you know that we have an awesome team of moderators who can help you and answer any questions that you might have. Okay, so the first, I keep freezing up. Am I freezing up on you? Is everybody else seeing me freeze up? Let's see what we got going on here. Anybody else see me freeze up? It could be my connection. We'll see. Hi, Beth Jewelry Gal. Any name, tell your religion to stop disrespecting human rights. So how is everyone doing this Thursday? Is everybody having a good summer? I hope so. It's been good. For me too. So we have a lot of things going on right now. As you know, we try to do videos to help educate you on some of the things that are going on in the world. And we're also planning some resources that can help you as we continue to navigate what can only be described as a crisis in this country right now to human rights. Yeah, hi, Ash, you caught alive. I'm so glad. And I think I saw... Let me see, where did I see somebody who said dealing with conservative family members, they say I'm immature when I express support. Cheddar's mom, that's an interesting, they say you're immature. So a lot of times people who are indoctrinated into religious beliefs that support transphobia or homophobia will use language like that because that's part of their indoctrination, whether you are spiritually immature, have a spirit of offense, you know, you carry a lot of anger, you must be living in fear. Those kinds of things are very intentional to direct back to you as if your emotions and your compassion for the world is flawed. So how can we help? How can you move beyond that? Because trying to get people to understand that actually it's a mark of spiritual maturity to be able to turn towards the world and see how it's hurting and how your spirituality is intricately tied in to how you help alleviate human suffering. So when a religious belief becomes hyper-focused on oppression as part of their God-given right, It's not as if you're going to be able to change their view on that. It's more about how you respond to it. And when we're talking about family members, then we're talking about a whole other level of feelings and a lot of dynamics that have to be worked through. But usually that starts with you establishing new boundaries for how your family is going to talk to you and how they respect you. So is that possible? Is that possible for you in this situation to do that? Rev Arda, make a comment and I'll see that come up and hopefully grab you. Is that possible for you? Because that's where we, in our spiritual growth, need to figure out what our boundaries are going to be and then how we're going to enforce them. And people who have been used to using their indoctrination to control you and assume that they continue to do that are going to push those boundaries again and again and again and again. So part of then your spiritual practices would be to enforce that, to be around people who can help you and support you and affirm you in your beliefs so that you understand that we're talking about being compassionate to other people who don't look like, love like, believe like, or weren't born in the same country as you. How can that ever be wrong? How can anybody ever look at history and say that we're not moving, we're not evolving, humanity's not evolving towards a kinder and compassionate world? Every place where human rights have been fought for, it's because we're elevating the human condition. But those who are in power, who insist on oppressing, are the ones who end up on the wrong side of history. So continue to affirm your beliefs so that you understand that you are doing the right thing. That it's not a sign of spiritual immaturity that you want to affirm people to show up as they are, as equals in you as you have shown up in this world. That people's sexual and gender authenticity do not make them a flawed human being. So I hope this helps, and we have, that helps a little bit. I'm looking for one of my, hey Sage Fire, it's so good to see you. It has been a while. You were a regular. Okay, Rev Arda. Let's see what's going on here. It says you're a moderator. So what I'm going to do is remove you as a moderator, and then I'm going to put you back as a moderator and see if that doesn't help. So you should be able to do that. Thank you, Cheddar's mom. I'm glad that helped you. As you can tell by what I said and how long I talked about it, I'm very passionate about that because there's most people, if you have moved away from or deconstructed, whatever word you're using for that, you've grown beyond your religious indoctrination or your religious heritage, a lot of times means that you're redefining those relationships. And that's hard because inside there is your family identity, the people who have supported you through other parts of your lives. But sometimes, sadly enough, they can't move with you. So they can only see you in this one place and they start to make that conditional. I hope that's not the case for you, Cheddar's mom. I hope that you can move beyond that. Ashley, I don't know what you mean by we are being oppressed now. So if you want to give that some clarity for me, I'd be happy to answer that question. Rev Arda, did that work? Please let me know if that worked. I see you waving, so hopefully that worked. Brandy says, I feel like I need to break the friendship between me and mom in order to be happy in my life. Well, Brandy, first of all, I don't know your age. And so I'm going to assume that you're emancipated when I give you this, this insight, if you will, because first of all, a friendship with a parent can mean a lot of things. So this sounds like this conversation is going beyond this is going beyond like this spiritual, maybe beliefs and things like that. But depending on our ages, there comes a time when we do step fully into our identity and our values and our beliefs that do move us beyond our parental heritage, or how our parents raised us. So I hope if that's the case for you, that you and your mother can find your way back to each other where it's a mutually respectful and mutually beneficial. So I hope that that helps in some way. My goodness, we have had, this is a this is a lot of comments at the beginning. Thank you, beautifully said. Thank you. And I'm just going back through to see if I've missed anything. And Rivarda, I'm assuming now that you're good. I think you are. What? Okay, so Brenda, you're okay. I just cannot assume anything, and we have to be careful when we're giving insight here. So, but I understand that, because those inner child, it's 41 doesn't mean anything. I'm not saying like, oh goodness, you're 41 and you shouldn't. Are you really? You're still bound by that? Absolutely not. Our inner child wounds, experiences, trauma, there's no judgment in that. Sometimes we will carry those with us. And sometimes it's a good thing, because all of our collective experiences in this physical vessel make us who we are. But if that's binding you to something in a way where you feel like your voice and your authentic self is being suffocated by someone else's narrative over you, then it is time to release some of that. And it's not a coincidence that really starts, you really start to hear that as you move into your 40s. That you really start to feel like the suitcase that you've been carrying of other people's beliefs about you and narratives about you just get too heavy, and you're just done carrying it. And you're ready to step fully into yourself. So embrace this. Instead of looking at this as a time that might be scary because you're not sure how she's going to take it, step into that age of 41 and say, I'm ready to live my life fully and completely. And once I've figured out some of this, I'm going to circle back, and I know this is going to be good for both of us. So let's give it that energy and see what happens with that, okay? All right, do we have some more questions here? Let's see what we got. Oh, well now, Brandy, that's a whole other topic, and maybe I missed something here. And it looks like the moderators, as always, are doing such a good job. Okay, Brandy, you gave us some more context. She doesn't agree with my being big and has told me she'll never accept it. Okay, I think that's okay. I'm not sure that you're going to ever be able to change that. About how much can you contort yourself to make someone else approve of you? How much can you do it? Probably never. There could be some things there that say that if it's not this thing, it's going to be the next thing, where that relationship is maybe does need to be rethought. So I hope that helps. I can tell there's a lot of layers here, but I think this is hopefully helping you. All right, come on, we need some questions here. I would love to see. Oh, okay, I got you. Okay, Brandy, thank you for that clarity. I really appreciate that clarity. And if she's entrenched in religious heritage that compels her to believe that being LGBTQIA plus is a sin, then that could be very problematic, because you being able to step fully into your authenticity may require a complete redefinition of that relationship. So what's more important to you? Your happiness and you stepping fully into who you are, or silencing yourself so that you can fit the mold of what others think you should be? And no one can answer that question for you. And I don't want to say it in a way that makes you think that there's a right or wrong answer. Sometimes the life is so complicated that where you are now doesn't allow you to move forward. And that doesn't mean it can't happen later. It's just not happening now. So we don't have to talk in absolutes, especially for people who cannot be fully themselves and must live in the closet. I often remind them that this is just today. It doesn't mean that tomorrow or the next day that things don't change, because they do. And you can move and step fully into your authenticity. And I hope that for you. All right, let's see what else we got here. Thank you again to all the moderators who are working so hard. I'm seeing all those names fly by. And what we said a long time ago to people, we ask that you let the moderators do their job. They're amazing at keeping this a safe and sacred space. And what they're trying to do is make it so that you are distracted by by their words and not paying attention to what I'm saying. So they are trying to basically deflect, because a lot of times that's the only mode that they know to make sure that you're not paying attention to what your spirituality needs. When you deal in a belief system that says you can only live this way, believe this way, love this way, and worship this way, and the rest of you are doomed, then they think that they have the right to live that, to come in here and force their beliefs in a system. And you see that across our country right now, in the political system, in the political landscape right now. I know how arrogant that belief system is because I was there. I was indoctrinated fully into it. So I understand how insistent and stubborn they can be. And the best thing to do is just ignore it. We're not here to change their minds. We're here to help you walk fully, accept who you are, embrace who you are, help you on the spiritual but not religious path, help you deconstruct from any religious heritage that no longer serves your highest good, and to learn to live an authentic life. Okay, now I did see a question from someone that says, thank you, you're doing a good job. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Lamont. I think that's your name. I saw. That's good, Sagefire. They are good. I mean, sometimes I don't even get to answer the questions because once I scroll back through, they have taken care of all the questions. And I just love that so much. Fed up. I have lost my mom, extended family, my marriage, all because I support trans son. Oh, and I know that Rev Art is going to have words for you there. And I just want to pause for a minute and tell you that doing the right thing is always the right thing, but sometimes it's the hardest thing to do. And at the end of the day, what is more important? It is more important to help people live authentic lives. And it sounds like your trans son is you are exactly who that person needs in their life. And so from this perspective, from one interfaith minister to you, I want you to say, I see you, and I applaud your courage for going into an unknown, this wilderness, without the support of your loved ones, the ones that you thought would love you unconditionally, would love your trans son unconditionally, and yet you all both find yourself out here alone. But when we understand that we are building new communities here, all this that's happening even in this virtual landscape, we are learning to find one another. So you're not as alone as you think you are, number one. And it's never wrong to do the right thing. How can your spirituality be about anything else than to ease the suffering of another human being? There is a hyper focus, and I write about this a lot, and I'm going to continue to say it. There is a hyper focus, especially inside extremist Christianity, that says that we're talking 5, maybe 7% of the entire population. When we're talking about transhumans, we're talking about, I think, maybe 2%. But this hyper focus to condemn this minor element of our population can only be for 2 reasons. Number one, you are so entrenched, you cannot let go of a belief system that requires you to be trans or homophobic. And somehow that's going to elevate your reward in heaven. And if so, I don't want anything to do with that heaven. Because I don't believe, number one, I don't believe it exists. Or number 2, you can't admit that spirituality evolves. Spirituality was never supposed to be static because humanity isn't static. So if we know this, then how are we in this time being held captive by a belief system from 2,000 years ago, from thousands of years ago? Why are we doing that? When in reality, even those who are entrenched in this homophobic and transphobic belief system have done away with elements of that belief that no longer serves them. If so, you would see a far different church. You would see a far different structure around church life and worship and everything else. But they have allowed that to evolve as humanity has evolved, except for these few verses in the Bible that they have decided to weaponize and hold on to with a death grip, because if they do, then they have to admit that the Bible is not intended to be taken literal, or the Bible has been mistranslated, or those sections of the Bible have no relevance in today. So if we argue those points with them to say, well, it doesn't, that's not what the scripture means, then we're going to their level of argument. So we're not even going to argue that. Why are we arguing about scriptures that were written thousands of years ago from people who couldn't even begin to imagine humanity looking like it does today? See, it's like the best example that you can have of how religion or even society evolves when you start with, I know this is random, but I was just talking about this to Rev Karla the other day, when you realize that the Church of England was started by a king who needed to divorce his wife and the Pope would not grant him a divorce. The entire structure of the Church of England was started by a king who needed to do that. And over the years, that patriarchal system has continued to change to the point where you now have women who are able to be in the line of royalty, to be able to be in line to be king or queen, at a time when you couldn't imagine that when Princess Diana was alive. How much it's changed in just a matter of time, to the point now that we're talking that Camilla will be queen. Now, all of that is based in not only patriarchal of the royalty, but patriarchy of a religion. So we can ebb and flow and mold as we need to, because as humanity changes and we realize that we're not dealing with things with compassion, we find the ways to do that. But on these topics, we can't. So your trans son has been persecuted and judged, and be the reason that your family doesn't support you. Think about that. How sad is that? And yet all these other things ebb and flow to make it convenient for patriarchy to stay in power. So you are on the right side of history. You are doing the right thing, and I commend and applaud you, and those of us in these spaces do as well. And I want to remind you to stay strong, because we know how hard this is, and my team and I are working on ways to be able to support you. Stay tuned very soon, my friend. Stay tuned, and I love you. Hugs to you both. Ooh, she's preaching today. I got 43 messages to check. Are y'all seeing me okay? Everything good? Good. It's been a while, hasn't it? I'm loving you all. Oh my gosh, I've missed you so much. Okay, Sage Fire. I think, Rev Karla, are you in a conversation with Sage Fire? I think you are. So let's see what's going on here. Yes, Princess Diana. Oh no, maybe it's me. Sorry, I got confused. The Bible has, Lamont, it has. And I don't even want to say mistranslated when it comes to these, a lot of those what are called the clobber verses, or the weaponization of scripture to condemn and persecute, because it can be said about a lot of things, from women in leadership to enslaved humans. You've seen how the Bible has been used to weaponize people over the years. And some of that was intentional, and some of it was just as we learned more about ancient scripture, we realized, oh, that's not what that really says. Now, it's interesting that a lot of religions Christianity will go back to the King James Bible, which is one of the most manipulated versions of the Bible that there is. Absolutely manipulated. And we should do a discussion about that sometime, Rev Karla, about how that was meant to basically invoke king power over, so that the people would understand that, okay, wait, we've got all this religious structure, but don't forget the king, and it belongs in there as well. Besides the fact that King James was was gay, but we'll talk about that some other time. Let's see what we got here. All right, we've got about 5 more minutes, and then I'm going to have to hop up, but we're going to be doing these more often, so be looking for them. I can tell y'all have enjoyed this. This has been really good, and I've enjoyed it. Hey, Mac Boy, see you. I'm so glad to see you in this space. Am I missing a question that we need to address before? Thank you, Willow. I recognize your name. I'm so glad you're here. And I can tell there's all kinds of good conversations going. I'm so glad that that's happening. Anybody have, she's thrown it down. Well, when I've been working on projects where I'm writing a lot, there's a lot of words. And so y'all get that. And I think I need to have that, like write or have a lot of meetings where I'm inspired and been working with the team. And then I come to these spaces and I just get to love on you in this way. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Okay, if there aren't any questions, we'll be back. I believe, I love this one. How is the Bible still relevant? That's a great question. I'm gonna close with this question, but if you have questions, we record these lives. We do it for safety, but also so we can go back and grab questions that we might use in the Patreon family or in future recordings. So make sure that you, number one, if you really enjoy asking questions with us and you want to be in community, go check out Rev Karla Patreon, and also check out our website, pneumasoul.com, where we will be announcing the upcoming classes very soon. But the Bible is relevant, first of all, for historical context. I think that it does have relevance in that way, to understand how people were trying to figure out who we were and how we got here. So I think that is really important. It also points to the evolution of spirituality. So if you read it in that context, you can see that the story was supposed to keep going. So we're adding to that story as time goes on. So that's why I think it's relevant in those ways, because it tells the story of religious traditions from that time. The other thing is they wrote in mystical language that's very powerful when you choose to read it that way. When you read the story of Jonah and the well, not from a place of consequences, but from a place of understanding that humans were being invited into a new level of compassion. It said, okay, don't just go out and kill all your neighbors. You have to learn to get along with them. Because if you remember, he didn't want to go to Nineveh because that was his sworn enemy. But basically, God was saying, no, you really need to go there. You need to stop this. This isn't how we're going to deal with people anymore. We're going to learn how to get along and understand the differences between us and our perceived enemies. Because you have more in common than you have differences. So if you read the Bible through the mystical lens, you can find inspiring stories. And from someone who fully deconstructed from my religious heritage, which was evangelical Christianity, I'm still inspired by and am in love with the Jesus stories. So they still speak to my heart, and I see them differently now that I'm fully deconstructed. So that's how I think it has relevance, but it just as all ancient scripture has relevance. So I hope that helps. Oh, thank you, Speedy. You make me feel understood. Thank you. I love you all so very much. Thank you. It's been wonderful. Now there's a delay here, so I'll see you that I said bye, and when you start showing me byes, and we'll see you next time. I think we'll go live on another platform next week, and we'll be back here as well. So thank you all so very much. Start telling me bye.